In this video, we are kicking Christmas in July off with 20 DIY ideas I have compiled you're going to want to make before the season. A little Christmas palette decor from Pinterest. I don't mind if I do, especially a little wood basket. So I grabbed some of Dollar Tree's wood palettes, 3 of them to be exact in this style, and 2 in this style. And I grabbed some paint sticks, which I get from Home Depot, in case anyone's wondering. I'm gonna use some antique Waverly wax for our color, and I'm gonna add a little bit of water. This just helps move the antique Waverly wax around. I also do this with paint. I've painted hundreds of palettes at this point on this channel. I've shared many different techniques to be able to do this. If you can't spray paint them, adding water to paint or antique Waverly wax, it helps. But people, I still hate it. Definitely not one of my favorite things to paint or stain. I took a minute and pieced everything together with these palettes once they were dry, and then just added a little bit of hot glue to start. I find when I'm not sure the exact placement of something, that's always a good idea to start with, and then I'll come back in with some Type-On wood glue or some tacky glue, or here I'm using the Quick and Thick on a paintbrush and just going over everything, all the seams, to ensure that we get that nice long hold. I found a little Snowflake stencil floating around in my stash, so I grabbed some white paint and a little paintbrush and just went in very gingerly on our piece, coloring it in. I then grabbed our paint sticks, and people, this is completely up to you. Measure them how high you would like, and then trim them down to whatever size you would like, and then just attach them. I used some more of my Type-On Quick and Thick and put everything all together, added in some greenery, and I love how rustic this little piece is. People, if you come across these beautiful metal towel pieces that hang on your wall, do not skip out on them. Pick them up. I'm about to share with you how you can take these and transform them for your seasonal decor as much as you would like, just by adding some paint. All I'm doing is taking a little bit of this Waverly red chalk paint and applying a coat all over the piece. Once it's completely dry, I'm taking some of my Dixie Belle silver gilding wax. Now, if you don't have this, you could use metallic paint, or you could use some rub and buff. Don't feel like because you don't have what I have that you can't do this. I'm always trying to give y'all options. And now you can use your finger like I am and go over all the sections, and you can be as detailed as you would like, but I wanted this to be extremely enhanced all over the place, so I rubbed it everywhere. And then I grabbed some beautiful Christmas greenery and a little ornament that I had in my stash from Walmart. Who knows how long ago. I picked that joint up with some twine and wrapped it all around our metal towel piece here, metal wall towel piece here. And look how beautiful this transformed this upcycle. Sometimes it really just takes a coat of paint. We're first going to just take our antique Waverly wax, and we are going to stain everything. Using a baby wipe is probably the best method to apply this quickly and easily. I am actually out of baby wipes, so I'm just using a paper towel here. Now while that's drying, we're going to create a raised stencil. I'm using some DAP spackling here. My favorite is Joint Compound, but I can't get to it, and this was right over my head, so it's a little dry. Okay, I was struggling to get its crustiness out of here, but we're gonna make it work by adding some white paint to this and some water, and just use a little bit of elbow grease until you have the consistency of smooth butter, and then pick out your stencil. I thought this one would go just perfect with the way that it just kind of lays when I turn it, you know, like a triangle, and at the top of the tree, and then we're just gonna patch it in as we go down. I did take a minute to kind of center our little crates and make sure that it wasn't going to overlap where we're going to put our spackling. And once I had that all marked up, I started applying our little mixture here. Now I have this little spatula thing because I get most of my craft supplies at Ross, and this just happens to come in one of the little paintbrush bundle things that I purchase. But don't hesitate to use a spoon. You got a plastic spoon laying around, use that joint. It will do the job just the same. I've been doing this for years at this point, and I tell you, it doesn't matter if you have crafty special tools. It is going to look like this no matter what, as long as you keep your stencil in place. And a little tip, if you want an extremely professional finish, make sure you're washing your stencil in between applications. As you can see here, there is a little bit of smudging. I'm going to show you how to fix that though. For crafters' sake, I like to call it, just to save some time, I may cut a corner or two. Okay, please don't hate me. If I'm not reselling a piece, and I'm keeping it and I'm just kind of showing you guys inspiration, I have no problem doing that. But I like to be real with y'all and let you know, like, hey, I'm not washing this stencil every time. This is why it's bleeding, or this is why there's extra. And in case you guys do that, guess what? I'm going to show you how to fix it. Like right here. Wait until this is dry, and then you're going to take a tiny paintbrush with a little bit of your Antique Waverly wax, and you are just going to go over it. And boom, it is completely fixed, and it looks really, really nice. That is a good reason why you paint first or stain before you do a raised stencil like this, in the event that there is some bleed through. And even though you try to do as much as you can to prevent that, you can go back over it, and these little details will help fix those problems and give you that high-end looking finish. Here we are just addressing the dangly crusty bits that are hanging off the side of our tree slice. After this dries, it's pretty hard, so being able to kind of flicking one off there or scraping one off is super easy. Next, we're going to glue on our crates. Make sure you're using some wood glue for a long hold and some hot glue for the quick hold. And if you want some extra protection, don't be afraid to use a drill bit to put some screws in there and some little pieces in the back, so it really, really stays on for a long time. And these are just some little Snowflake laser cutouts that I had, and I am putting different ones on the top of these trees. We're going to need 3 wood slices. Now each one is a little bit bigger than the next. Of course, our head is the smallest. Once we have it all tiered properly, we're going to need to create a sturdy base for this to attach to, and I cut down a shim to accomplish that. And of course, I'm trying to bust out the wood glue, and it's all stuck in there, and I got lazy and just screwed off the lid, and it then poured out onto our wood slices. Don't be pretending like you guys don't get tired of pulling that sticky stuff out your wood glue. I know you do, okay? You're not alone. To make sure our shim stayed stuck on there immediately, I added a little bit of hot glue in the sections I didn't have any wood glue, and then let this dry for about 5 minutes before I carried on to our painting. I'm just using white chalk paint for this part, and I'm going to then come in to draw the face after this completely dries. I am taking a little bit of it and brushing around the edges of our wood as well, so it just all looks blended in. This is a little snowman I had left over from last year that I got from Walmart. The sucker was on really well. I had one hell of a time getting this little hat off of here. Pulling one hat off of a snowman and put it on another snowman. For the face, I'm keeping it very simple. We are painting on our little orange nose. I kept the eyes in the shape of like an oval. And for the smile this time, instead of doing dots, I made like little squiggly lines. For his little scarf, I'm taking some Dollar Tree fabric that I have on hand, and I'm cutting it about 7 inches long, and we're going to just create that little dovetail effect at the very end of it, wrap it around his neck, glue it on him, and then we are going to glue our snowman onto our base, and that's going to be it for this little guy. found me a crown at Goodwill, people. I was about to get this and put this on my head. It was super pretty. And then I realized, nope, it's a candle holder and it's only $2.99. So I was like, I have a ton of these Dollar Tree pillar candles that will look perfect in here, and it's gorgeous all on its own. However, we can't just leave it like that. And that candle holder is absolutely too phenomenal to do anything with. So we're going to need to grab us a napkin so we can decoupage this joint onto the candle and give it a little upcycling love. Well, it's a Dollar Tree candle. We're not really upcycling that, but the candle will add the upcycle to the upcycle and give a little oomph, if that makes any sense. You guys, you're following me, right? Anyhow, to decoupage a candle, you're just going to need to trim out whatever sections you would like of the napkin to put onto the candle. I'm using a little bit of water on the edge of a paintbrush and just getting those detailed sections. If you're looking for something specific, it helps to wrap the napkin around the candle, and it takes time and patience. I know it can be a little rough, but I promise it's worth it. I just wanted one real pretty design on here, so I took my time making sure that the design didn't overlap on the napkin. And then I removed all those extra sneaky layers because we're only going to use the top decorative layer, and grabbed me a piece of parchment paper. I'm using a heat gun for this. This is the technique I like to use. You can use iron if you would like. This is just what works best for me and what I prefer. There is no right or wrong way. You do this how you would like, and keep in mind it gets hot, okay? So watch your fingers. But what you're looking for here is that napkin turns translucent. If you still have that white color of the napkin, it hasn't melted into that candle just yet, so you'll want to put the parchment paper back over, continue to heat up that napkin, heat up that wax, and allow everything to melt together. When you're happy with that, you just put it right on back into your little candle holder and display. I found this large wall decor piece at Goodwill for $2.99. Now, I don't want you to get too set on the fact that it's a wall decor piece, because we're going to use it for something entirely different, and you're going to save money with this idea. So first, we're going to turn it over on its back, and we're going to remove those hangers, because we're not going to be putting this back on the wall. And pay no attention to the fact that those stickers say $7.99. I see that $2.99 sticker I paid $2.99 for, in case you think I'm bluffing you. Like, Brandy, it said $7.99. No, that wasn't the Goodwill sticker. So check this out. You know how a lot of times people like to create the tabletop decor pieces where you can put the floral pieces in using a Dollar Tree crates, or they use the pallets. And even with the pallets, like, you even need more. You'll need like 5 pallets, plus you'll need the wood sides and the top and the bottom. And with these, you would still need 5 of these. And any way you're cutting it, you're spending over $5 or $6, which is still pretty budget friendly for the idea in general. But I got this wall decor piece for $2.99, and we're just going to clean this sucker off. Now, it wasn't really dirty. You'll be able to see here there was minimal dirt on this. You can feel free to scrub it down as much as you would need to. I am going to just add some candlesticks in here and then put some moss and some greenery in this piece, and you will not know that it was a wall decor. You could reuse it at some point for wall decor if you would like. You could switch this out as many times as you would like and put it in different sections. It is such a budget-friendly way to get this stunning look on your table without having to buy all those Dollar Tree bits. While I was watching this video on Pinterest, I seen these little frames in the background. I'm like, that looks really familiar. I think I have some of those. And I do. I had these Dollar Tree frames. They're like chalkboard pieces. Had a couple of them, so I figured I would take some white paint and recreate those little frames, but put my own designs right on the inside. These can be a pain to paint to begin with, so I like to start with a sponging and then I'll go over them with the paintbrush and a fan brush and a detail brush. Allow them to dry. Usually it takes about 3 coats, but when you want to get in all those tiny details with a different color, and here I'm going to be using Antique Waverly Wax, take a tiny detail brush and go in all those little sections. Once it dries, no matter what color you're doing this with, I've done this with a couple different colors, it looks a little weird, but I promise you take some of the paint that you had as your main base and you dry brush right over it, and it just blends out all those beautiful details. Off camera, I gave the backside of those chalkboard pieces a nice coat of white paint. This will serve as a nice background for our TDS rice paper designs. These are A4 in size, and I'm just gonna take them and place over top of our little cardboard pieces, and then just press around where I need to cut and trim for the design that I want to be on the inside of the frame. You can attach your rice paper however you would like. I'm going to use some good old Mod Podge and put a nice little coat on these pieces and then apply our gorgeous rice paper right to them. I wanted to share how this idea is awesome, whether you're using it for one beautiful single piece that you want to kind of make the center of attention, or if you are wanting to highlight the background of something, these frames and this idea is absolutely perfect to just add some unique decor into your home this holiday season. At first, when I'd seen this little sled at Goodwill, I wasn't really sure what it was, and then I flipped it over and I'm like, oh, it is a photo frame. And it was $3.99. I definitely paid more for it than I would have liked to, but it's not often you see a little sled piece like this, and it's so rustic and I love it, so I had to get it. Plus, I had a really cool idea of how to keep this intact just like it is and add a couple little accents on here just to toss into your decor. I did not clean this piece off. I left it just as rusty and crusty as it was. I absolutely loved everything about the piece except for the glass. That had to go. It was too messed up. We weren't using any of that. Now for our center piece, I wanted to just create us an ornament type of ensemble that went in here. So I grabbed some greenery, a little star ornament, and a decoupaged ornament that I made a couple weeks back. With a piece of twine, I put them all together and then hung them right in the center of this sleigh. Now you can absolutely put this wherever you would like in your home. You find a piece like this in Goodwill. I decided to pop it onto a light switch, and I thought it was a perfect little accent to the room. For this upcycle, I wasn't really sure what it was. Maybe an old banister piece? I don't know, people. What do you think it is? Well, I knew what I wanted it to be, which was a base for my pine cone Christmas tree. Look how big this pine cone is. Huge, right? Anyhow, we had some holes we needed to plug up, and I'm just going to take some of this DAP spackling that I keep in my stash. I picked this stuff up from Walmart. Use the Dollar Tree stuff if that's what you want. I get asked that, like, doesn't matter. Completely preference, people. This is just what I use. Do you, okay? Do you. I'm a little bit bougier with my spackling, okay? I smush that in the holes. I let that dry, and then I want it to frost fluff. Let me go Google this. flock. We're flocking. I've been doing, how many years I've been doing this, people, and I cannot remember that term still. Anyhow, the best way, in my opinion, to do this that I usually share, even though I can't remember the word, is with a sponge. Okay, you just tappity tap 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 some of that paint on the sponge, and then tappity tap 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 that paint all over your pine cone. If you want to use whatever, you go right ahead. I happen to like the paint instead of like salt or, you know, baking powder, whatever. This is my method. Next, I'm busting out some of my TDS Creative Decoupage tissue paper so we could just decoupage the top little area on our thingy, because I still don't know what we're upcycling. It is my base. Okay, it's my base for my pine cone. We need it to look decorative, and I'm just trimming out the decoupage tissue paper and cutting it down to size. Once I was all done with that, I decided to pop a layer of crackle on here. There are multiple different ways you can get a crackle effect. This is my favorite, and I'm just putting a light coat all over the outside, not on the top of our piece. I felt like the wood popping through with that crackle would match really well with the decoupage tissue paper. Allow that to dry completely, and then go over your piece with whatever paint color you would like. Now, I did the top pretty solid, and I didn't have any of that crackle on the top anyhow. That was just so our decoupage tissue paper pops. And then I did ginger swipes over top of the areas that I applied that crackle medium. This stuff is absolutely temperamental, so you want to just have as much of that paint on your brush as you can, and then go swipe across. I do like to take a heat gun to this. It helps to make those crackle effects a little bit more dominant, and I just really love how this turned out to add those pops of brown to match into the decoupage tissue paper. Once this was completely dry, I grabbed some medium and then applied our decoupage tissue paper right on the top. Feel free to use whatever medium you would like. This isn't just a one medium works. You use whatever works best for you. Right before I go to apply the decoupage tissue paper, I do like to take my little water bottle and give the back of the paper a little spritz. This just helps to make the paper a little bit more manipulable. You don't have to do this, okay? It is just something I like to do. You can absolutely lay the paper down without wetting the back of it at all. It will work just like a gem every time. And I'm usually able to just use my finger, lay it down, and it's completely fine. Once your piece is completely dry, it's time to bring on in the finger sander or whatever sander. You don't have to use this. I got mine off Temu. I get often asked where I got these from or where I got mine from. You can find them at Walmart, and you can Amazon the joints. They are fairly easy to find and really inexpensive to have. I went in a downward motion, getting the excess off of our decoupage tissue paper all around the edges, and then used some wood glue and hot glue. Wood glue is important when you're attaching a pine cone to something, and placed it right on the top of our base. Using Dixie Belle's chocolate to give this a once over. It's not thorough. We left some gapping, and we are leaving this whole area in the center here nice and open so we can put our white paint and our gorgeous napkin. I've been dying to decoupage with this. Yes, it's in my napkin bundle kits, in case you're wondering. It is for sale on my website. I want to sell this, and I want people to be able to use this as a tray if they want. So we're going to use this dishwasher safe Mod Podge. It works just the same as the decoupage or regular Mod Podge, just in case you're wondering if there's a difference in application. There is not. It works just perfectly. Once I got that brown all dry, we're gonna bring in the makeup brush. I'm going to take some of Waverly's plaster, and we are going to dry brush this very thoroughly over the whole piece. Give it a really good aged look, and I love using makeup brushes for this because it really helps to just not cake on paint but more so, just look at that. Look how it's applying. It's just dusty almost, right? And I know you guys are just going to pull your hair out when I tell you that I even go over this again with more brown. Listen, it's a layering process. It is just what I do. I wanted to add like a banner type thing almost around the edge. So I had these gorgeous stencils I picked up off Amazon for a couple dollars, and I'm just doing the top part of the stencil with some red. Adding that white over the brown is really going to, one, give us that aged look and a little bit of a color variation, but two, help this pop. Even when I go over this, because I do go over this and sand it down, it really helps everything to just blend in and look like an old piece. Plus, I feel like the red kind of matched the napkin, and we want to just have everything kind of tie in together. Obviously, our napkin is not big enough to fit the whole tray. So to give the appearance that it is just one piece and it's meant to be like that, I am ripping this napkin all up. We are putting little pieces of this napkin in different sections of the tray, and then we're going to come back in with some paint and we're going to blend everything in to make it look like it is just meant to be one piece. There is no right or wrong way to do this. It is honestly up to the artist's opinion where you want to place your napkin. I will say that I recommend whatever your largest piece is that you want to be your main focal point of something like this, you put that on last if you are not sure how you want to spread your pieces out. If you are sure about how you want to put your pieces on there, you go right ahead and slap that sucker on first, and then you just put your other stuff on. I waited to do my centerpiece last, so this way I could get some of these other pieces up and make sure they were spread out enough that it covered the whole piece and looked like one unified project. A few little tips for doing this, because I know you guys are like, why are you not using your sponge? The pieces are super, super tiny and the napkin is really thin. So what I'm basically doing is wetting a tiny piece, pressing on it with my finger, just tappity tap tap tapping, and then taking the brush to just paint right over top of it so it is immediately attached to the board or the tray. See how I'm holding the napkin down here as I go? If you pull on it gently, it allows it to stay tight. So as you're applying the Mod Podge over top the napkin, it helps to minimize the wrinkles. If you are really skilled at your wax paper and your parchment paper with your iron-on method, you go right ahead if you want to have that many of minimized wrinkles. I am not, I know me, and I would have that iron sticking to all the Mod Podge around our napkin, and it would be, oh, it would be such a mess. I would be so upset that it was all sticking to the paper, and this just works best for me. I know many of you are new to decoupage. You guys tell me that you are, so I just want to encourage you to try doing this in small sections on a smaller project you're not too worried about before you try it on one that you are. Once I was happy with the napkin placement, now I need to kind of blend in everything, and I'm taking a fan brush with a little bit of that chocolate and going to the very far edges of the tray and pulling it in single strokes towards the napkin. Wes brought me in a drink, so I was taking a little break on the camera. I was like, oh, I'm filming this. I did, you know, block out me taking my gulps, though. I didn't think you guys wanted to hear that. I used the plaster the same way I used the chocolate color with the fan brush and continued to just blend in between where there was no napkin. I wanted to bring some more of that vintage look into the center, and I took small sections of the stencil and added a little bit of red onto the top here. In the bottom corner, I wanted to add a little bit of an eyesore. So I took some of the plaster and added a big stencil right down in the corner. I took twine and wrapped our little handles up and simply stunning. That is all I can say about this tray. I absolutely am in love with these out. They were literally bigger than my hand. I had a couple ideas for these, but since we're at the beginning of the season, I'm like, I can use these as little accents as I'm going through to add to decorate. I wanted to create a Christmas tree set. Flock, of course. And these needed a nice rustic base. And I had these little Dollar Tree cube pieces that I picked up a little while ago, and I thought these would make awesome little bases. I can take some papers and just decoupage them on there, and the theme kind of just goes with the rusticness of the pine cones as it is. I mean, people, let me know in the comments, do you feel like pine cones are rustic? Because I think they're rustic all on their own. Now we're going to need to bring in the decoupage paper. I'm going to use this and some of Hobby Lobby's paper, but there is a particular little spot right here on this TDS decoupage paper. This is from my TDS decoupage line. It can be found at thediystruggle.com. I just wanted to take this little section right here and cut it and put a couple little pieces on these dice, mostly because the colors are going to match exactly with this paper that I have had, and I love that I pick up from Hobby Lobby. And as you can see here, the two prints complement each other really well. And if you didn't know, you can pick up paper really inexpensively from Hobby Lobby if you have one local to you and you like to craft. I wasn't exactly sure which sections I wanted from the paper, so I cut off several little pieces. For our medium to attach it, I'm going to be using Deco Arts Decoupage in the mat. Of course, use whatever medium you want. Regular Mod Podge would do the trick just fine. I'm putting a healthy amount on here, and then I'm just gently pressing our piece. And no, I did not cut a perfect circle. You're welcome to, but I'm going to sand this off. And for those of you that love the burn method, you want to do that as well, you go right ahead. I just like to sand my pieces, and I feel like it works just fine. So I cut the pieces in a circle, I applied them, and then I let them dry for about 30 minutes. And while they were drying, I took the opportunity to flock our trees using this multi-surface paint. There are many ways to do this, people. You can use your glitter, you could use joint compound, you could use spackling, you could use caulk. If you want more of like the crusty white bits all over the place, I'm like, nobody's going to see them but me and you. If you're watching my videos, they're going to be little decorative accents, you know, my displays, and I'm going to probably pop them around for Christmas. So I'm completely content just using some paint for this part. Now it's time to bring in our little finger sander so we can get the excess off around our paper. Please make sure that whenever you go to do this, if you're new to decoupage, it is really important to make sure that is dry. If not, no matter if it's paper, even a thicker piece of paper, or if it's a napkin, if you start sanding too early, it is just going to move and tear it. You have to get a little bit of patience, people. I know it can be rough, but patience is key to making sure that this looks flawless on here once it's sanded. I really loved how the colors from the TDS decoupage paper complemented the little pieces that I chose from the Hobby Lobby paper, and then took some of Waverly's wax and went around the cube and went, or the dice, and went around our little pieces of paper that we decoupaged on here just to make it all rustic and fabulous. To attach the pine cones to our little base, I'm just using some hot glue. People, don't do as I do, okay? I am out of wood glue, and later on in the video I do find some Gorilla Glue gel, but make sure you're using a glue that is going to hold these suckers onto here, okay? Your girl needs to make a trip to the store, okay? Shocker. I took some little, look how cute these are. These are from Dollar Tree, the little Christmas bells. I glued them onto different little sections on the smaller trees and left the top one blank and put a little star right at the top of that one. And I cannot tell you how much I love these pieces. I always feel so blessed whenever people send me things and want to see what I create with them. I hope I did not disappoint her. Let me know in the comments below if you plan on making any of these for the holiday season. I absolutely thought this framed paper dot Christmas tree was beautiful, and I got the idea to create something similar with some napkins. So I grabbed a Dollar Tree frame and I painted it up white with my Waverly Snow White chalk paint, allowed this to dry, and then I went and grabbed some cardboard to trim it down to size for our backing. I decided to go with cardboard. If you wanted to use real wood, you absolutely could, but I knew Dollar Tree had these amazing wallpaper pieces, and it was just a matter of picking which one was going to be perfect for the background on our piece. So I grabbed a couple and then made a couple comparisons with the frame and with the napkins until I decided which wallpaper I thought would match the best. Then I trimmed the wallpaper down to size, attached it to the cardboard, and put it inside our frame. For the tree trunk part, I just grabbed some dowels and I cut them down to size. The size really is relative according to what you think is long enough. I didn't measure mine, I just eyeballed them and went with it. Two of these pieces are napkins, and then one is a piece of burlap. I couldn't really find a blank napkin that I felt made sense with these two pieces, so you'll notice here that I'm using double-sided tape to attach the napkin. I want it to have some freedom that if I mess this up, I could pull it back off. So I started out with the double-sided tape. I put like 2 or 3 strips down, and then gave it a little bit of a wavy appearance. You could do this as much or as little as you would like. I just went with a minimal amount just to give a little something something. You can absolutely leave it flat, completely up against the board. You could grab some scissors, give it that scalloped look, but I decided just to do that mostly with the napkin pieces. I used hot glue for the burlap because I knew that the glue wasn't, or the tape wasn't really going to hold that into place, and then just alternated with the layers and trimmed the tree up as I attached everything into place. At the top of my tree, I decided to add a little bit of greenery and a star. Absolutely finish off your piece however you would like. I love how shabby chic this piece turned out. Doesn't matter if I'm hitting up an antique shop, an estate sale, a thrift store. One of my favorite things to upcycle are rusty, crusty pieces. And people, I'm not picky. I like them pewter, I like them metal, I like them tin. I like it all. And it's really easy around the holiday seasons to switch out your decor and keep these super simple just by adding some florals or greenery or mix and match. Completely up to you. You don't need a lot in these little pieces to make them really add a little something something to your space. Also, I feel like size doesn't really matter in this case. It could be a large piece like this and you could just add a couple little berries and it has its own feel going on with it. Or grab some little rusty pieces like this adding a greenery sprig to it, and then tuck it in with a couple other little seasonal pieces to just add a little accent of something. I will say one of my favorite and one of the easiest ways, in my opinion, to add a little something something to the larger pieces is to just trim up some pine branch pieces and just shove them on in there. They even accent well with little vintage cookie cutter pieces, and you can add a hint of color in there by just grabbing some yarn. Or get rid of the greenery altogether and just grab some berry bits. They look amazing in this little vintage tin scoop, and they would probably look really well if you had those old vintage hand garden tools as well. But seriously, whether you're adding berries, whether you're adding the pine pieces, they just go with pretty much any rusty, crusty piece. You can always add some transfers to these to spruce them up if you like. And people, don't be afraid to pile all your rusty crusties together with different florals and different greenery for your seasonal decor and create a nice cohesive collection. Transform these spindle pieces into a matching ornament set. And to get started, we're going to need to bring on in the drill and pop a hole in these so we can put hangers on them. And you can do this several different ways, but I highly recommend making sure the battery's charged. Of course the battery's dead. Why wouldn't it be dead? At some point in my life, I had more than just one of these batteries anyhow. Once it was charged, I then laid these on their side and used a larger 2x4 because experience has had me drill holes in the bottom of the table. And this will prevent that. Now, if you want to drill a hole in the top and then put a hook in there, you go right ahead. I didn't have any hooks, and I wanted to share with you guys the easy peasy way of getting around that if you don't have hooks at home either. You just lay them on their side, drill a hole straight on through that joint, and then we're going to pop some twine in there later. But first up, we're going to start by putting a nice layer of white paint on both of these. Use whatever paint you would like, and I do recommend cleaning off your pieces prior to painting. I know you didn't see me do that. I did that off camera, just trying to save your viewing time. Always thinking about you watching over there. But yes, clean them off, make sure they're dry, and then pop your paints. If you don't want to use the multi-surface, a nice chalk paint would work as well. Make sure they're completely dry or pop a layer of sealer on them before you bust out your transfers. I'm going to be taking some of my TDS Creative transfers and sprinkling them along both of these ornaments. It's really important to make sure your paint is dry whenever you go to put on a transfer, and that is any type of transfer, because if the paint is slightly wet or you didn't seal over it, it is a real good chance that that transfer is not going to adhere properly, and it's going to pull back up and pull some of your paint up. So this is something that will require patience and a little bit of dry time. When I went to put the twine in, I noticed that it was not going in the holes. So to make that work out a little bit better, I took some painter's tape and just smooshed it around the very edge as thin as I can and into a real nice point so it would easily go through the hole, and then I could tie it in a loop, making our little hook for our ornament pieces. You can go about creating your hook however you'd like. I wanted to keep these fairly rustic, and also took some of that twine and a little bit of glue and added a nice amount right to the center of each of these ornaments. I still felt like they needed a little something, so I grabbed some of my Dixie Belle's gold gilding wax. And if you don't have any of this gilding wax at home, you could use other alternatives like metallic paints. They do have like gold and rose and silver paints, especially in the folk art brand. I can usually pick them up from Hobby Lobby or Walmart, and also rub and buff. And instead of popping these on a tree, I decided to add a little bit of messy moss inside of one of Dollar Tree's wire baskets and create a beautiful little vignette style piece. I love some good pine cone decor this time of year. So when I seen this pack for $2.99 at Goodwill, I absolutely grabbed it. I'm going to share 3 different ideas with you right here, how you can use these in your decor. For this first one, we're going to just take 2 of the pine cones and then put them to the side and grab us a little terracotta pot. You can leave yours that color. I'm going to grab some of my Waverly chalk paint in the moss color and give it a nice coat. And then I'm just gonna look around in my stash, and I had this little gem I picked up about a week or so ago from Goodwill. Okay, Goodwill. Still not breaking the bank over here. And we're just gonna put the pine cone in here. We're gonna take a couple pieces of greenery and just kind of arrange it in there and just set it. We're not gluing anything down. We're gonna take a little piece of floral foam, some of that stinky. Why does this moss have a stench? I sucked it up, okay, and then I grabbed the pine cone and put it on top of our little moss smelly ball and create a little cohesive collection. You can really get creative with this and put little pine cones in a bunch of different things and just set them around your home. Creates a really festive little holiday feel. For this next one, I grabbed some of my little hoogie bobbas and whatchamacallits that I pick up from the thrift stores and just started kind of shoving them up the up the bottom of our tree there, making little trunks. I wanted to add a little frocking onto our pine cones and grabbed my folk art multi-surface and a sponge and just tappity tap tap tapped that paint all on the outside of these pine cones. Now I didn't glue anything in place because, believe it or not, they sat there kind of perfectly right on the top, nice and still and sturdy, but feel free to glue yours if you would like. Create a door hanger with one of Dollar Tree's bamboo rings. I wanted to add a little something extra on this door hanger than just some pine cones, so I grabbed one of my containers with some hoogie bobbits and whatchamacallits I collect from thrift stores. I never remember where I picked these bits up from, but usually I grab them for like 25-50 cents and I always find something to do with them. Today we're going to be painting them white along with the bamboo circle piece from Dollar Tree, just to add a little pop of color in here, but I'm gonna keep the pine cones all natural. When everything was all dry, I grabbed my twine and cut 5 pieces. Now there's a couple ways you can attach twine and attach your little door hangers, but I like to create a loose knot at the end and then loop the excess twine through it. And then at the end, I will cut that extra twine that's hanging off and I'll glue everything nice and tight together. Once we have it just like this, we can then cut down the twine to different sizes. So this way, everything cascades whatever way you would like. One way or another, one piece longer than the other, or all the same length, completely up to you. I took a bunch of glue, loaded up in the bottom of this pine cone, and then popped in some greenery. I pulled that twine so this way it was perfect the way that it would hang and it wouldn't bunch up and have the pine cone any which way. You can also staple these in. I wanted to be able to reuse the pine cones at some point, and I knew that the glue would just come out of here and I'd be able to do that later on. Large wood blanks at Dollar Tree aren't just good for single piece decor. I'm gonna grab 4 of these snowflake pieces and we're gonna stack them on top of each other to create a snowflake riser. To attach all of them, I'm just gonna use my Quick and Thick tight bond and some clamps. And then I noticed that my tight bond was kind of clogged up. So I got my little Cricut tool here and grabbed my needle nose pliers and just unclogged it. For those of you who love oddly satisfying things like me, you're welcome. And for anybody else that was disturbed, my bad. My bad. Listen, we do weird stuff around here. Welcome. There are several different ways you can create risers or get that thicker effect. I decided to just cut out using all the beads and the tumbling blocks and popsicle sticks and whatever else I've used in the past, and just pile these suckers right on top of each other. I've also noticed that when I'm doing stuff like this, if I use hot glue, even though it's helping to attach things quicker, it will leave gaps. So I just went ahead and used the Tip-On Quick and Thick and the clamps, and I really love how close the adhesion was on these pieces, along with the thickness of the overall riser itself. I grabbed some of my spackling and shoved a little bit in that hole we had here, so this way it didn't look like a bunch of ornaments. Use whatever legs you would like for your riser. For this one, especially since it's the holiday season, we're just going to use the little snowman pieces from Dollar Tree. I usually always have these in my stash, and pop right on the bottom. For our main color, I'm just going to use some white paint, and I'm going to use a little bit of black paint to give some accents, mostly just around the edges, and for the stencil we're going to put on the top. Yes, my stencil was not rinsed off, okay? I can't even remember the last time I used this stencil, but it was in my stash and I was like, it'd be good for putting more black paint right on top of it. And it was just fine. What a great way to use those large Dollar Tree wood blanks. I hated like hell that I was going to paint over this just because the design in the center is gorgeous, but I did it anyway. Took 3 coats. I was a little ticked off that it took me that many coats to get a nice coverage on this little plastic silver plate piece. And I just wanted to keep this really simple, so I'm taking this reindeer ornament piece I picked up in a pack from Walmart, and then adding some of Dixie Belle's black gilding wax right to the edges. If you do not have gilding wax, you can use black paint on your finger. It will also do the trick, or a permanent magic marker that will also do the same. Just be gentle with the brushing of it, and it just brings out all the etchings. It's absolutely gorgeous. We are going to grab some Dollar Tree's hanging snowflakes and a wood plank to create our own unique wall decor. Take this idea and remix it using whatever colors work best for your home and your decor. I'm going to just take some black and paint a nice coat all over just the plank section and allow that to dry. While it's drying, I'm going to take the snowflakes and cut them all off the twine, and then grab some white paint and paint them all white. When they were done drying, I grabbed some more twine and then cut little pieces to attach to the top of each one of the little snowflakes. Did not reattach the snowflakes themselves. I put them to the side and then went and grabbed one of my stencils that were in my stash. I did order this off Amazon for anybody that was wondering, and I put it in the spot just to kind of measure where that was going to end up. Then I grabbed some metal lace. You could use ribbon for this if you would like, and I cut a couple sections and applied it right to the end and made sure to also cover over those holes that we don't want anybody to see. I cut up some greenery and stuck them into the metal lace. You can absolutely glue them down, but I knew I was going to be putting berries over top of them, and I waited to add the glue. I then flipped it over and added the snowflakes onto the back with a little bit of hot glue and a little piece of cardboard. Then when that dried, I flipped it back over and added on those berries. If you want to use paint, you go right ahead. I'm just taking a little bit of my homemade texture paste and going to smear it right on the Believe section of this stencil. I cut the little Santa sleigh section out and put it right on the top and then added more of that texture paste. Believe it or not, this only took a couple minutes to make and it absolutely looks like something you would purchase in a store. If you're looking for more Christmas in July inspiration, check out this video I made last year with ornaments right here. And as always, people, thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. Until next time.